because you're going to talk about why traditional forms of marketing do not generally work.
And then later product management. Let's see, I've done a lot of business consulting over the years. I used to own a business consulting firm, and I'm also the lead singer and frontman and sound engineer for a rock band. So there's that. uh, so yeah, but I've been doing the tech thing now for 18 years this year already. Wow, I can believe time goes by that fast. So
Yeah,
that's me in a nutshell.
that's it. Okay. Whoa. All right. So we were gonna. Okay, there we go.
You skip some slides.
Yeah, I know. No, I backed up. I don't even know how I backed up, but I backed up. Okay. Jacob, why don't you go next and tell us a little bit about you? Okay. Take 2 minutes. That's what we're going to do. Or
Yes,
do you
yes.
just want to talk about it instead, Mike, since there's only
Yeah, let's do that. Being as it's just the four of us, rather than taking time to write things down, let's just talk about those questions, Janice.
Okay, Jacob, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what marketing means to you?
Yeah, so introduction wise, just moved out here to Bend, Oregon about 7 months ago, and that's where I had the lovely pleasure of connecting with Janice over some networking kind of online groups. This is year two of my home service and cleaning service business here in Bend, Oregon, and then also in Portland, Oregon. We do commercial and residential cleaning. And then on top of that, on my very little spare time I have, I'm also co-founder and head of partnerships at a startup called Do Curious, which helps screen or helps really anyone get off their screens and do more challenging things in the real world to help gain confidence and lower your desires to be on your screens. What does marketing mean to me? That's a great, that's, such a fun and broad question. Because there's just really any way I could go. Marketing, you know, it's really, in the best way I can put it, just a way of trying to really understand who your customer is and really, you know, get diving into the psychology, the human psychology of why does someone want something and how to craft um, whether it's your information or your offer in a way that makes them feel like they felt of it, they thought of it, and wanting to just connect with the mission and your goals and maybe the energy that your business puts off. Um, so yeah, I guess I'll stick with that for now.
Good.
How about you, Kurt?
Cool.
What
So, Jacob, I moved to Bend about 4.5 years ago. Um, so I run a digital marketing agency. I've been running it for about 9.5 years now and focusing mostly on local SEO, but we do paid ads, web design, pretty much everything else that marketing agencies do. And our focus really for the last year has been on building systems for businesses. And I say systems, I'm talking about generating the leads, managing the leads, nurturing them, and then getting them to book appointments. We have an all-in-one system we use for that, and we use AI and then AI bots to do auto booking and communications. And marketing to me, it's always interesting. I'm a marketer, but it really boils down to two things. It boils down to brand awareness for me and lead generation. So getting your name out there, getting people to know you and getting them to like you and understand what you offer and generate leads from that. So I did sales for 18, 19 years also. So I always have to throw sales into that as well. I mean, there's been such a merging of marketing and sales over the last, decade or so. And that's where these systems like iSell come in. That's kind of why I'm doing it because I realized pretty early on with a marketing agency that people aren't going to do certain things on their own. I think those days of throwing the marketing services out there and by themselves, or they're going away. People want, because they're not going to do the sales part. So if you can have something built for them to manage all of it, that really is what people are, it's just going to drive business. So, and that's kind of, so when I say marketing, I'm also kind of always like to throw sales in there. But yeah, that's what I do.
Excellent.
And the home cleaning thing, I'm one of my neighbors used to have a carpet cleaning business, and he just retired. So I should ask him if he's got some leads for you.
Sweet.
I'll be able
Appreciate
to hand the book of business over.
it. Appreciate it.
Oh, that's great.
awesome.
So in your endeavors of and marketing, what have you found to be successful? Whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, I can go first on that. I think for B2B stuff, what I found to really be successful is just personal communications with people on LinkedIn. I mean, I've got more clients through LinkedIn than anything else. Just by reaching out and starting conversations, doing a little research and pointing out some things, and also offering things up front. I've always been one of those pay it forward type people. And for an example, is I built a little custom GPT that will analyze someone's LinkedIn profile and then rewrite it all based on like becoming client centric and focused on specific things. And what I've been doing is going out and just finding profiles I think that are just horrible. And Janice, I ran this for you too. And I can run this little tool. It literally takes 30 seconds. And then I'll just send it to them and say, hey, I just noticed your profile and look, you're doing this. And anyway, the whole point is just doing things for people to show some value right up front. And I guess kind of coming back to that question again, it's really about showing value up front. That's I think the most successful thing you can do.
Very
Yeah, that's spot on. Yeah, the two words that come to mind for me are authenticity and value, and mixing those two together with having your heart and your mind aligned with your business's vision and goal, is able to empower you to one, be the best version of yourself, but then adding value as soon as possible to whatever the offer is. It's hard to beat. It's like peanut butter and jelly. Like it's always been great and it will continue to be great. So yeah.
Very good. For me, my presence on the internet has been successful for me because I've been found by a lot of people. So it's pretty cut and dry, but I'm stepping up my game. More to come on that. How about Mike? Do you want to go ahead and jump in with, because you're going to talk about why traditional forms of marketing do not generally work.
I think it's already been hit on by Kurt there that the landscape is changing so much. And what I'm finding as I'm dealing with my business is, well, to back up. So I've worked with some pretty top name people and companies in marketing. One of the guys that I worked with for several years his company was rated number 3 in the world for marketing. And we ran into a lot of frustrations trying to find new and unique ways to market. My tech company at the time, we were much trying to really expand our national presence about 10 years ago, probably. And we kept running into stone walls. And I can look back now and see why that was happening. Because the traditional forms of marketing, which we're just still calling basically brand awareness, while we know there's no tangible return on that, that's your Kleenex as an example. We talk about that. I'm getting ahead of myself here, but we need something to blow our nose in, and it doesn't matter what brand it is. We're buying Kleenex. That's successful marketing, definitely. And brand awareness is walking through the store and saying, "Oh yeah, I need Super Clean is a product that I'm associated with one of my other businesses, and I see Super Clean on the shelf, and okay, it is a great cleaning product. I happen to get it for free, but because I'm so aware of the brand, I automatically notice it wherever it is." And that's, I think, still a valid part of marketing, but I think we've got to be more adaptable in the traditional ways we've done it. Probably aren't working as well as they used to, and I think moving forward into 2025, we've got to be adapting and changing. Janice, do you have anything to add to that?
No, not so far. I'm
Okay.
soaking it in
So
here.
yep. One of the things that I found as I've consulted with businesses over the last 15 years is one of the questions I will ask them is, do you know what your product is for your business? So I'm going to ask you guys that. Do you know what your product is for your business?
I guess yeah, on the cleaning side of things, that definitely, as a service-based business, it, is could the word, service be interchanged with product in a way, or, I definitely would love some perspective on what a product would be for a cleaning company. Because yeah, it kind of stumps me in a way. But
Yeah, and I'd say for a cleaning company, I mean, your end product is just a clean home, you know,
yeah,
and kind of touching on what Mike said about the changing landscape is something I've learned over the years is you can't just talk about your services. You got to talk about the end result. You got to get that in the person's head. And so that's what a product is for us. It's not local SEO services. It's generating leads. You know, we don't do the sales part for them, but our product is lead generation. I mean, that's what it boils down to. And I think, having that mindset for your business, Jacob, and the materials you put out there and the conversations you have, it's like if you come in and say, "Hey, we're going to scrub your toilets and get your kitchen, you're going to get your sinks clean." It's I want to know the end product. I want to know what makes me feel good. And it's same for, I mean, pretty much any business out there. I mean, even Michael, the IT stuff. It's like they don't care about the little details about what you're doing. They want to know if something's working and it's going to help them. So,
mhm.
This was something that probably 10 years ago was a massive paradigm shift for me and changed the way I approach marketing. Because I had answers very similar to what you guys were saying. And it probably wasn't quite 10 years ago. And I don't even remember because I went through so many different things years ago when we were aggressively trying to grow the business. And somebody presented that with me. And I said, well, we present managed service products, blah, 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 blah. And they said, yeah, that's great. That's your commodity, but that's not your product. And I was just like a blank stare. What do you mean that's my commodity, but not my product? What it came down to make a long story short, is understanding that what I'm really marketing or advertising or selling, which we'll get into that in a minute, is not computer tech or cleaning or even marketing, but it's the feeling that people are going to buy into. That's what I'm really selling. So I had to look at my tech business and say, oh, what is my product for? It's probably close to 10 years ago now that I think about it, because I can remember the staff, the team building I was doing at the time. And just look at that and say, okay, so we went around the circle. I had a leadership team of about, I think, 6 people working with an outside consultant at the time. And okay, everybody, what is our product? What is that feeling that we are trying to sell to potential customers or even our current customers? And the one we walked away from for tech was confidence. We really were selling confidence through the commodity of technology. That was a game changer for us, because as we had our team meetings, what we would end up doing is we started analyzing for probably a year every aspect of our business and saying, how does this sell confidence to the customer? How does this project confidence to the customer? We even went further with that and started training the employees in how they communicated with customers on the phone, how they communicated with customers in the store, how they communicated with customers on site, to say, is the way you're relating to customers, is this really conveying our product, which is confidence? So they believe without a shadow of a doubt that you know what you're talking about, that you know what you're doing, and if they have a problem, you have the answer for it, or if you don't have the answer for it, you're going to find out. So one of the things that we had to deal with at the time was one particular employee who would always say, oh, I don't know, that's above my pay grade. Well, what does that do to the product, to the company we're trying to sell, right? So we really had to go deep with it and train the staff to, I don't have the answer for that, but let me get with somebody who does, and they will either reach out or I will get back to you on it. And that projects confidence that that customer knows these guys are going to take care of it. I have a couple of other businesses. I have a business consulting business, and I had to look at that business as well and say, okay, what is the product? It's a personal, and I used to be a counselor, so I didn't bring that into my bio here, but I turned that into a personal consulting thing and did it on a personal level, but also for businesses. And what was my product there? And the product there was empowerment. I won't go into all that. And even for our band, we're an all original rock band that are out since 1982. And I had to put my band partner, we had to look at it and say, what is the product we are selling with the band? And that happened to be belonging. Everybody wants to belong to something. So we came up with the concept of not family, but family. So fan base, that's a fan club, that's FANILY. It was a game changer in everything I've been involved with because I realize now what I need to focus on. And that thread fits through every part of my business. So I'm going to present that back to you and say, given that concept, whether you want to adapt it or not, but let's talk about that for a minute. With your businesses, with what you're doing, what do you think your product is with that bit of information?
And real quickly, I was going to point out, like, if you look at the big brands, Coca-Cola, and their commercials they run, they're not talking about, oh, it has these flavors and all this stuff. Every one of those commercials is some guy smiling. He's like, it's like so refreshing. But once you learn this and you start looking at all those commercials for all those products, you're seeing the same thing in all of them.
Yep.
Unfortunately, we as small business owners, we don't have, we can't run ads during the Super Bowl and pay millions of dollars. But
Right.
it's a good point though. It's all about that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to throw that in there before I got to.
No, that's a great point because that is really what they're marketing. That's old school, but it's not. It's that's still current no matter how the trends change. So
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I guess
so
in
what do
my
you think?
product, oh yeah. I mean, going off of that, that definitely helps kind of clear up or helps, yeah, just kind of the focus on the product is really the emotional side of things, and especially with cleaning, like the goal is not just surface level cleaning. It's it's a healthy home. It's somewhere that you spend 30% of your life inside your home, and knowing that the unseen and seen, dirty, dangers, sickness, whatever it is you're being protected from that with a high level cleaning. Someone that pays attention to the true health of the home and the family or individual. Um, so yeah, just health in a way, and definitely
Yeah.
a lot more empowering and exciting to think about that than talking about the types of cleaners we have and the strategy that we use for
But you still see that stuff out there. People are like, oh, we use this and we have this technology and stuff like that. And sometimes you
Yeah.
can, if it's, really convincing, you go, oh, wow, that's really cool. I feel good about working with them because they have this, but in the end, it doesn't make that much of a difference. So
right. Yeah, love it.
I've got a question for Kurt. Um, since you focus and your majority of what you do is work with attorneys and in that field. So I'm curious what kind of feeling you're trying to get it, because we think of lawyers as, well, it's kind of it's like accountants and certain other professions. There's just no real emotion to it.
yeah.
I'd be curious, what in that whole theme of emotional, what you're trying to, and Mike, I'd love to hear some discussion on this because Kurt's industry is so different than and
Mhm.
focused.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's actually, I've already nailed that down
Oh,
because been working with attorneys now for about 4.5 years, and they're busy. They're extremely busy and they don't have time to do the marketing stuff. But when they're small firms and we're talking, 5 attorneys or less, they're kind of required to do a lot of that stuff because they're usually not at a point where they could hire a full marketing staff. So for them, it all comes down to time. How can you cut that time out and allow them to do more client work where they're not having to do sales and marketing? And that's kind of the feeling we sell. It's like this system, this is the reason why I built this system. It is hands off. I mean, literally hands off until they show up for that meeting. And that's what I pitched to them. I go through this whole process of, generating the leads, managing them, getting the book appointments. It's like all you have to do. And the first time you'll hear about anything is when you get an appointment that's already booked on your calendar for you. And all you have to do is show up and close that deal, and then you can do your work. So that's what they want to do. They don't like doing this
Yep.
marketing stuff. So that's kind of the feeling. It's like you don't have to deal with that because they get frustrated. They throw money out here, they throw money out there. I've got one client, he's into AI stuff and he's built all this stuff. I'm like, why the hell are you doing that, man? It's like, you know, I mean, just focus on your work. And that's what he wants to do. But he's kind of
Yep.
felt compelled to build all this stuff out. And it's great that he has it, but 2 days ago was today, no, Friday, he's like, "Hey, I'm hiring for a AI and automation specialist." I was like, "Oh, you're getting tired of doing that stuff, huh?" He goes, "Yeah, I just need to get to because they're getting busier and busier." And he's like, "I just want to focus on the client work." So yeah, so that's the feeling. And I've gone through this whole process. It's like, what is that end result? Okay, they're stressed out because don't have enough time to work with clients. So let's find a way to give them more time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good because it really is that. I can't think of the feeling related to it. The negative feeling is stress, and I know there's a counter. I should know that. I haven't been a counselor for years, but it's not there right now. Apparently, I'm too stressed to know what it is. But yeah, that's exactly right. And I was thinking about your cleaning business too. I was just making some notes, and really, the two words that came to me there, just to throw out there for you, is um, my wife says this all the time. Our home is just not peaceful because we're in the middle of a remodeling project and we have been for about 5 years. There's not a lot of peace in that. We're making some good progress finally. And she walked in the other day and she said, "Oh, I can feel the difference now." So peace to me is, even with a clean home, is or safety is both there. So peace and safety. And it's funny because for you, Kurt, the same thing came to mind was you really kind of offering them not so much peace, but peace of mind.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
definitely.
most of the attorneys I work with are estate planning attorneys. So
Mm,
that's what they sell. They
yeah.
can say, "Oh, we can do a will for you," but it's like, no, no, no. You
Oh,
sell that
that's
peace of
brilliant.
mind to where they don't have to
Yeah.
worry about what's going to happen after they pass away or if something
Yeah.
unexpected happens. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
whole pitch, and
Ah,
once they get that, it's easier for them to sell. They get them on the phone. They're not it's like, "Oh, let's go to the details of a will and let's the different types of trusts and things like that." They're like, "Hey, we'll get this set up for you to where you don't have to worry about your kids if you die or your wife dies.
yeah.
Everything's gonna be taken care of."
Ah,
Yeah.
that's beautifully refreshing compared to we've done tech for a lot of attorneys, and the product I see them selling, they're trying to scare everybody. That's their product, and so that's such a refreshing thing to
That's
hear.
why I don't work with personal injury or defense attorneys.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I had that. I was sitting with it was actually a business consultant from the state of Michigan, which is where I live, by the way. And she was taking me through all of this stuff. And she's like, it was right at the beginning of the pandemic. And don't let this crisis go to waste. You've got to scare the hell out of people so you can make sales. I'm like, I'm not that guy. I'm not going to do that. I'll go bankrupt before I do that to people. But we saw it happen across the board, obviously. And
Yeah.
there's all kinds of fear tactics on multiple levels.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. It's great. Oh my, what else? What other things do you want to talk about regarding that before we move on?
Mm.
I think I'll continue on then. So as we determine, and it may change, but as we determine what our product really is, we can look at our entire business and see how does that apply, right? And I really love that for what you're saying with the attorney thing because your product is exactly the product they're selling, so that's really going to resonate with them. Um, are we going to take a desperation approach? Are we going to try to convince people? Are we going to try to pique curiosity? One question I ask a lot, yeah, and I did a whole series on LinkedIn about this a while ago, was what are the anxiety points that people are dealing with and how can we address those? So in other words, taking an actual interest in somebody. I did a test on my LinkedIn Messenger because you know what it's like. You bring somebody in as a connection and immediately you got their elevator pitch in your messages. Rising bonkers. So I did a test in that for a while, and I said, I hear your approach, but if you had looked at one thing on my wall, you would know that the way you're approaching me right now is not going to work. Go back and look at some of my videos and read some of the stuff that I posted and try again. I got most of the time crickets to very rude responses and telling me how self-centered and arrogant I am to tell them how they should do their job. all kinds of stuff. But I think that's part of, knowing your market, knowing who you're talking to, and knowing how to address them in a way that's going to connect with them where they're at. So, showing interest in them as a person or what they're dealing with in their business. Brand personality, again, it's the same thing. We can look at that product for our business and look at how does that thread through our brand personality. And I think it's part of managing expectations as well. I've seen it more times than not in the old days where I would come in and start talking about my latest and greatest tech widget, whatever, whatever. And you see the eyes roll back in their head. And, oh, God. They don't care. I had the CEO. We used to do tech for a national wealth management company. And when we came in to bid on that job, the CEO said, I can get anybody to do tech. That's not what I'm interested in. I want to know if I can work with you. He set the stage for me to win the contract right there because he gave me his expectations. I'm not sure he knew that. So anyway, those are some thoughts. What do you find in your approach to marketing? What do you find is effective in your market share?
Yeah, like I was saying, like the LinkedIn stuff, doing a little research on them first. And like I said something for Janice, and I was gonna talk because it hasn't been all that successful so far. But I do this LinkedIn outreach, but always have a follow-up message if they connect. And this is all automated, but it's never that sales pitch because I get sick of that too. It's just, hey, thanks for being in my network. And that's it.
Yeah.
But then I have it set up to where those connections flow automatically into my CRM system. And then from there, I have an automation that notifies me these connections. And then it's my job at that point to go look up their stuff and say, hey, oh God, this guy's an estate plan attorney. And I'll go look at their site. And then sometimes throwing that value out there first, I'll say, hey, thanks for connecting. I'll always check out people's sites, if they connect with me. And I just looked at yours and I noticed a couple of things you might want to change. I don't say, hey, I can do that for, $500. It's like, yeah, have your web designer make this change. It will help you out a lot, or their Google business profile. And that usually will start a conversation, or they'll thank me or whatever. But yeah, the approach is really, I mean, you're trying to sell them, but the approach for me is never sales. Because I can't stand that stuff. Like you said, you connect with someone and bing, hey, this. And there's so many.
Absolutely.
There are actually ways to automate a lot of this too. I do a lot with automation, and you can have some of these AI tools go out and research this person and pull in all sorts of data. I don't really use that because I get these things and they're like, oh, it's great that you're in the wine industry. It's like I closed that business down in 2011, dude. It's like, tweak your AI tool to only look at the most recent job description. But pulling in that information and getting it in a CRM and then taking that, it just kind of gives you a little information right up front that you can go and talk to them about. But just the main thing is really, not being salesy and showing them that you've expressed a little desire to learn a little about them first, as opposed to just going out there and pitching them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that approach works.
How about you,
Jake?
Jake?
Have any thoughts?
Yeah, it's very similar when it comes to, wanting to be as far away from the sales process as possible, especially with something with cleaning where inherently it's a pretty low entry service level business. Cleaning, you can only clean something to 100% in a way. So then how do you gain that competitive advantage of being the cleaner out of the 20 that are in Bend? It really comes down to how easy can you make it and how much or how much are you willing to listen to the client about what their needs are. And that's why I found a lot of success with, even though trying to automate things, I still go do walkthroughs for like myself, even though I don't clean, because it has always been such a prominent thing to the client that the owner of the cleaning company comes and walks through their house and wants to listen about all their problems of these tough stains or whatever, something that bothers them, and allowing them to basically just vent in a way and going, hey, we can help you with that. Has always been something that it's wanting to keep that as a bread and butter while also trying to scale and have more cleans. So it's going to be interesting as time goes on, but wanting to just continue the authenticity and caring about the clients, even though it is just house cleaning.
Mhm. I wouldn't use the word just in that, in
Okay.
Mm,
house cleaning. That's super important.
it
I used
is.
to get after my employees when somebody would walk in the door and, it was after hours or whatever. And they, it's just me. I said, no, no, just. Get rid of the just. Not just you. It's you.
Okay.
Same thing. It's like, don't
Mm.
don't downplay yourself by saying just. It's a therapist in me kicking in, I suppose.
Oh, for sure. I love it. I love it.
It's me. That's probably the rock star in me kicking in there.
Hey,
Um,
Oh, it's funny. I think as I've looked at the things we're talking about, um, one thing that my marketing guy from Texas said to me years ago, and it really makes sense when we look at the feeling we're conveying with our business, is that once we understand that, everything we do in our business really is marketing. Um, and so it doesn't matter whether you're involved in the leads process or your web presence or your interface with the customer or I don't know, I suppose I hate to say paying the IRS because I'm dealing with taxes right now. I have other words for that, um, but for the most part, I mean, everything we do as we interact is presenting a feeling about our business, and every bit of that is marketing. Because the more we deal, whether you're dealing with your accountant or your attorney or your marketing person or your IT or your security group or whatever it is, um, you never know how you're presenting yourself to them may trigger them referring somebody back to you. It all makes a difference. So
I could revise my what is marketing answer now to creating a good feeling for potential clients about your business.
yeah. My cat is screaming. 1 second, I got to let her in the back room. I'm gonna have a mess on the floor.
funny how our pets can jump right in and grab our attention.
Yeah, I don't want to clean it up. The joys of working from home. Um, I'm glad to hear that. That was the whole point. I mean, part of it is knowing you were coming here, and you're a marketing guy, and here I am, and Janice are talking about marketing. I admit I feel a little bit intimidated by that. But on the same token, I've been doing this stuff for 25, 30 years, so
Yeah.
I've learned some stuff along the way, and that's where I try to come from. I'm not a marketing expert, but I definitely have learned a few things, and that's why Janice and I were put this together. Was okay. It's not just about what we can share, but it's about what we can learn from you guys as well. So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I mean, like you kind of pointed out, it's like, and I tell my kids this, everything we do in our life pretty much has marketing involved in it. You want
yeah,
to make friends, you're marketing yourself. I mean, everything. Getting
yeah.
into college nowadays, you have to market yourself. You have to have all these extracurricular activities you've done. So it all boils down to that, that's,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
true.
it's huge. Oh, where are we at time wise? Oh, we
Okay,
got quite a bit of time.
yeah, we got quite a
Go
bit of
ahead.
time. Do you want to
Yeah.
move over into the what is marketing, brand awareness, and et cetera now, or
I'm thinking directly, we
okay.
kind of talked about a lot of that, but I'll circle back around to that, and just ask the question in light of what we talked about. Now, how do you become the brand awareness in your potential clients' mind so that, like, I got about 10 or 12 local accounting firms is one thing we specialize in, but we also do attorneys and all that stuff. I've got two law firms and 3 accounting firms for sure, and 1 manufacturing company that I'm targeting right now in my marketing indirectly. And um, you know, the goal is obviously we're having this issue. Hey, I remember CU Tech. That's right. Those guys offer that. Or, um, CU Tech, they do tech. I wonder if they do that kind of thing. And I also do that with my vendor networks. So we have a lot of partnerships that you'll see me talking about if you, on social at all. And I also want to be that to my vendors. So they go, hey, we're out here on the East Coast and we've got customers in Michigan. What's that tech company that we work with over there, right? So I'm also working in that. And that's where a lot of our business comes from, is from those affiliations and those partnerships. So it's not just from you to whether it's B2B or to the end user, but it's also looking backwards and saying, okay, looking around, how do I market myself to all my vendors and all my partnerships? And we even have affiliate tech firms in the area that we have, uh, like I just had it happen last week where I cultivated this relationship for close to 15 years, and I had a job 2.5 hours away that I couldn't get to. I called them; they were 20 minutes down the road, and they took care of it for me. So there's all kinds of ways that we start looking at, the bigger picture of how we can market ourselves and build, in my case, confidence that we're a good company to work with uh, for those vendors and for those peer relationships and things like that. Um, so to me, that's part of brand awareness. It's not just the walking through the store and figuratively and saying, hey, there's that product. But it's also being front of mind with all of the other companies that we work with in all those different ways. So how does that apply, do you think, to where you guys are at? And when you stop looking at your direct market, who you're working with this way, but also looking around.
Yeah, I can definitely speak on the pretty intense growth of brand awareness that we had when I moved here to Bend. Within my first 2 weeks, I joined a in-person networking group with 40 other, business owners in the Central Oregon area, all from, realtors to carpet cleaners to contractors, just a really large, diverse group of one, just great colleagues, but also people that work day to day with clients that have homes. And so that was such a monumental decision on kind of the part of the company to join and for myself to join in a way, was, marketing myself in a way as a trustworthy owner of a business that will go to other people's clients' homes and deliver the same level of service that they do for their clients, and really just solidifying that we are as high tiers as the companies that we do business with, has really gave us just that the awareness within these businesses that they have a guy that they know they can call and get these clean set up and help to create more peaceful and healthy homes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, brilliant.
I think I went to the same BNI group. Did you guys meet over the golf club?
Well, now the BNI group switched to its own chapter now, so it's not a BNI group anymore. It's
Okay.
called BBN.
Okay.
Uh, Pretty cool group though.
Yeah, I met with some of those guys, probably the same original group, but there were like three or four other marketers in it, and they basically said, "Oh yeah, we kind of like to focus. If we've got like three other SEO people, then I don't know how much it's going to help you." And it was a polite way of saying, "We don't want you in our group." I'm like, okay. I mean, the cool thing about my business is I don't have any local clients. I mean, they're just all over the place. I don't really need to. Um, it would be nice to have some local clients. But yeah, the brand awareness thing is really, it's tough because we're just bombarded by so much stuff, especially in the marketing industry, I mean, they're just like millions. Everyone's a marketer out there these days.
Yeah.
And I mean, I get hit up every single day. I get probably 5, 10 emails from other marketing agencies, wanting me to work with them. So that's kind of one way people are doing it. But the reality is it's just too much, you know? I mean, I don't use those tactics because I'm just one of a million people out there hitting all these companies all the time. But I do think I've been working with some other marketing agencies for years now who will come to me. They're like, "Hey, got this client. We really don't do this for them. Are you interested?" And it's just because, I've done good work for them in the past. And I think that's kind of how we do our brand awareness. Um, you know, just by providing good work, and then we get referrals out of it. Or sometimes there's these little side projects. I mean, and sometimes, and it's happened a couple of times, you're like, this customer is a pain in the ass. I don't want to work with him. You want to stab at him? And I've taken on a couple of those clients in the past,
Yeah.
and one of them worked out really well. One of them, COVID came, they were a med spa, and I was so happy that it had to shut down. I was like, I mean, I was telling my wife, I'm firing this person next month. That was like in
Yeah.
January. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
great. They had to shut their doors. I don't need to worry about it anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, brand awareness, it's tough. There's different stages, I always tell people you always have to do brand awareness, but don't throw all your money in that at first because it's going to take a long, long time.
Yep.
You got to get your name out there in other ways. You got to just focus on getting clients. Because like I pointed out, it's overwhelming. There's just too much, there's a fire hose of just people throwing stuff out there. But I think the best approach that I've found is to just be super, super, I mean, hyper focused. So I don't focus just on small businesses. I focus on law firms. I don't focus just on law firms. I focus on estate planning law firms. So when I do my ads and stuff, it is specifically for those people. And I'm hoping over time, we're going to become a fairly well-known brand,
Mhm.
to where people, oh yeah, we worked with Engage Digital before. Yeah, these guys are okay. But yeah, anyway, it's it's tough, it's tough doing the brand awareness stuff. It just takes time and takes a lot of money too, especially when
Yeah.
you get in the advertising part of it.
Yeah.
I worked with this other agency during COVID. In fact, I just get a little more background. I went back on my own with my own business starting last February. So it's only been a year since I've been back on my own. I still have my business during COVID, but since I had called on med spas only before, we lost all our business. But when I went to work for this other company, um, I couldn't believe every client they brought on, they start brand awareness ads. And it's like,
Mhm.
oh my God, you're just throwing money away. And
Yeah.
these people, it wasn't a whole bunch, but they're like, oh, you got to spend at least $1,000 to $1,500 a month. You want to build your brand. I'm like, yeah, you do that for about 5 years and you might have some recognition in your town. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just not the way to go. I mean, you have to do it, but I think just starting out, you just need to focus on getting some sales and building a reputation.
It's good thoughts.
I think that's the key to working with vendors. As I was thinking more as we were talking that, for me in tech, another area that I focused on was all the internet providers in the area, and not with the companies themselves, but with the guys that are boots on the ground. So I took time to get to know every one of the installers in the area, and especially the supervisors for the installer, for all the guys that are on the road. And there's, I don't know, a dozen of them are still in our local area here. We're not in a huge population area. And we would get a lot of referral business that, hey, Spectrum recommended I call you. Well, that gives you huge clout, and Spectrum is recommending you, for example. So again, look at that. Look at what's around you. You may be missing something that's a huge, because if they're selling you for you, that's a winner chicken dinner as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
I know it took me a long time to realize that, and my business has been in a huge downturn for the last 4 years, so I won't get into all that now. But to realize that to get my growth back, to get back on where I want to be, it's not going to be direct marketing to the end user. I've got to really market myself to my vendor network. They'll do the work for me. I'm lazy.
Well, it's the one to many,
Yeah, exactly.
and it can't do.
If I've got 12 people out there every day, boots on the ground, selling me, I don't have 12 salespeople, right? So
Yeah. And then maybe even putting together some kind of um, referral program,
yeah,
I don't know on the
we do
different
that for our
industries.
customers. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that works really well.
Yep.
That's what I'm starting. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't want to take a lot of time on this because we are, winding down here, but I don't know, Janet had things she wants to say, but I did want to hit on a couple of things here as far as trends that I'm seeing in 2025. AI, obviously, that's huge. Love it or hate it, it's here. Obviously, you love it, you're using it. Voice marketing, which just means, voice assistant, voice search. I admit I don't understand that technology that well yet, how it's working, but to be able to talk to Alexa, to be able to talk to Siri or whoever, and get yourself in that queue for that. Virtual reality. I don't know how that fits into our businesses. I haven't spent much time on it, but it is definitely a way of marketing. User generated content, I think, is huge, where you're getting feedback from the people you're working with, and you're able to utilize that into part of your marketing strategy. That's massive. Education, of course. What do they call it? premium stuff, like we were talking about earlier, where you're just providing really valuable content. The problem I'm finding others saying the same thing is that may not be the best tool anymore. It has been a good tool. They're questioning the direction that's going to go now. And just sustainability, credibility, uniqueness, personal communication. I use a lot of video stuff. I'm really good with doing videos, so I do a lot of video content that I put out. So there's a lot of things that are just kind of the trends right now. But I think the thing is, as you already said, Kurt, it's you have to find something that sets you apart, and that's really hard when there's so much static out there.
Yeah.
There it
Yeah.
is.
One of the things you just point out, video, I've got to get in on it also. I mean, I've neglected my YouTube channel. I don't have anything out there. Just finding the time for me. But Jacob, it sounds weird, but YouTube is an amazing platform. It's the second largest search engine. It's owned by Google. Google, if you're out there doing, and it works with local too. People think, oh, well, YouTube's not local. It's everyone can see it, but it definitely works with local because YouTube and the Google algorithm, or excuse me, YouTube algorithm will pick up on certain things. It's like, hey, I'm Jacob. I run this. We're in Bend, Oregon, and talking about little tips. That's something you can do. You do 3-minute videos. How to do this. You have a ring in your toilet. You can't get it out. You've tried baking soda and all these things. It almost sounds like, hey, you're giving away business, but you're building trust. You're getting your brand out there, and people are killing it. Local businesses are killing it on this stuff now. You'll start showing up in regular Google searches because they're pulling all that information in. Another thing, if you have the time, is that user-generated content that Michael was talking about. Reddit is like blowing up. If you can get on there, find some subreddits to join that are related to home ownership and things like that, and people will have questions. And you can even set up these AI tools to kind of like scan these subreddits and notify you when people are talking about cleaning services, and you can get in there and just make comments. It doesn't work as well with local unless you can find a subreddit that's like, for Bend and cleaning or homeowners. But that kind of stuff really, really helps out. I mean, I know there's a marketer I know, and he just gets in Facebook groups, and he sells an AI tool, this AI bot, and he just gets in there all day long, is commenting on things, and he's every week is, hey, got two new clients this week, and these clients are paying him $1,500 a month, and like every week he's like, everyone, you got to get in here and do this, He goes, I'm getting as much business as I can handle. But it's working out really well. And I think a lot of that is just getting involved and, communicating with the people out there, engaging with them.
I'll throw this out for you guys. Not that I'm selling anything, but I know a lot about YouTube. So if you need some tips, reach out. I'm happy to help. So
Yeah.
He does. He does.
I might hit you up. I just went through a YouTube course. Just stayed away from it for a long time because I don't have the time. In fact, I've got my my lighting's up here now. Don't have it turned on, but I've got my whole rig set up. So I got to start doing that. And it's something
I've been doing an automotive channel for 6 years. So
that's cool. Yeah. That's nice.
Okay, I know we're starting to clock down here, Janice. You want to? Where are we at? I got lost here.
Oh, yeah, we've been talking about how do you take your business to be top of mind. So that's something that we've been addressing. One thing that I work with clients on, and that's what sets you apart. What makes you unique? What makes you different? As I've said before, there's a coach under every rock. What makes me I know it's true. It's so true. It's just like all of our industries, there's just so much competition. But what actually sets you apart, makes you unique in your industry, in your area, and you want to find that the feeling is really important. But think about yourself. What makes you different from your competition? And I don't go and search a bunch of other coaches. I see enough stuff arbitrarily. I don't have to go search for it. However, I had to start doing some deep soul searching and what makes me different. And one of the things that makes me different is I do custom work. I work with people, not processes, not I don't just throw you guys have all worked with me. Have I thrown a video at you and say, well, come back if you have any questions? And that's what a lot of coaches do. But I'm one-on-one, hands-on. So I'm finding my way and my niche in that. A matter of fact, when Kurt and I were talking about, well, what's your target market or your niche? And I went, okay, this is going to be fun. And so he's helping me because I don't have a specific industry I work with. I've worked with so many. However, he is helping me define that within the LinkedIn platform. But I'm unique. I'm different. I'm starting to really find that traction. So that's if you guys have any comments on that, it's really important to know and not to be a me too or and Mike and I will probably do a thing on collaboration versus competition at some point because we both feel so strongly. So what is your feedback on those thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, niching down for it's a little different for Jacob because I mean it's pretty specific, It's like it's not like you're gonna say I only deal with two-story homes, or businesses that have, 20,000 square feet or more in their warehouse. But it's really important for most industries, I think, to niche down. And Janice, honestly, it would help you. It's like you want to be known. You can't be known among all the industries out there. But if you're just focusing on, let's say, for example, personal injury attorneys, and you're helping them with their sales skills and whatever, you can become well known. You can build your brand in that little sub niche.
Yeah.
And I think marketers in general, have started to do that well, not started, but they've been doing it for years. But I still see the guys out there that are selling these things like, yeah, small businesses. That's my niche. It's like, it's
It
like
is,
millions of, you can't do that for most industries. And what sets me apart and what sets us apart is I don't go in there and I don't say, hey, we're going to sell you local SEO services.
yeah.
I don't even focus on that. It's like we're going to generate leads and we're going to get them to show up on your calendar, and it's hands off for you. I've got a whole system that does it in the background. You'll never see it. You just show up for the meetings. Because most marketing agencies still don't do that. They're like, here's our menu, if you want to choose from these. So anyway, I think that's what sets us apart.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Jacob?
I definitely had somewhat spoken about it when it comes to setting, making the cleaning company, unique and setting yourself apart is obviously kind of bare minimum is being a high level like cleaner and having a high level team of cleaners. And that's almost bare minimum, the bare minimum when it comes to people's expectations for cleans. Some people somehow expect 100%, 110% clean when things can only get 100% clean. So, that's a bare minimum. And then it's like, okay, how do what do we add on top? What type of cherry and sprinkles can we add that is just, continues to elevate us and give us distance from every other cleaning company. And that really just comes down to the mindset of, even just the small words of, I don't have customers, I have clients. These are, once again, this goes back to everyone spends so much time in their home and realizing that they're allowing us the, almost the privilege to come into someone's personal space and really be having a deciding factor on how to just deliver results to someone's, space.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good.
Absolutely.
So, Mike, you want to just bounce off of the difference between marketing and advertising? We've covered so much regarding this.
Yep.
I'll let you touch on this before we wrap it up.
And this is a 30-second thing, but I've been in business since early 90s in one fashion or another, whether it was a side hustle or full-time, mostly full-time. And it was only about 10 years ago, I was way up across the state and up north. I went to a business workshop up there and was cultivating that community for business. And while I was there, I hit this business workshop done by a statewide organization. And the guy asked questions, and he says, you know the difference between marketing, advertising, and sales? And I just stared at him. What are you talking about? And it's such a fundamental thing. It's something I think, everybody probably knows this, and I was just too stupid to not know it. But I've realized a lot of people don't know the difference as I've worked with people over the years. So marketing is basically, here I am. That's it. Here I am. So it's brand awareness. Advertising is, here's my stuff. And sales is the actual process of making the sale or selling the sale, or the process of making the sale. And it really helped me because earlier on when I was doing stuff, I was mixing all of that together and was actually jumbling the message. Whenever I do something now, I'm sitting down very clearly thinking, okay, am I marketing? Am I advertising? Am I marketing and advertising? Am I advertising with a sales pitch? What am I doing here? It really helps me focus in on the exact point of whatever the thing I'm doing right now is. So 30 seconds, but I just really like it. And it's, as you said, Kurt, it's not as cut and dried as it used to be, but it's still, for me, keeping those things separate, knowing exactly what am I targeting with what I'm doing right now. It really makes a difference for me. So
Yeah, good point.
Very good. Yeah. And we're going to work on something with sales, but I think we are brainstorming some other ideas first. But what other topics would you gentlemen be interested in having a workshop on?
I guess you feel this has been helpful.
Wait, was it helpful?
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Yeah, I think it's always important to have these conversations with different industry, professionals, and because everything, it's all so different, but at the same time, it's all so the same when it comes to marketing and those
Yeah.
basic definitions of things. So it's always, very appreciative of hearing everyone's viewpoints and experiences, because it just continues to strengthen my vision on it.
Excellent. Excellent. Well,
Yeah,
I
like topics, something I've like really been digging into lately. I don't know if this relates to what you could talk about, Janice or Mike, but is like systemizing your business and just to make it more efficient so you can scale.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
there's just little things you can do.
Yep.
And instead of
I
like
can,
saying every time I do this, I got to hire somebody, or I have to hire somebody to do this in-house.
Mhm.
It's kind of hard with a cleaning business. My wife works for a vacation rental property management company, and they got like most employees are cleaners, and they got like 25 of them. Um, so it's like they really can't, they have to hire more people. It's like they can't automate any of that stuff. But all their marketing stuff, they're learning that they could automate some of that and kind of trim that down to be able to grow the business without having to hire more people for that.
yeah.
So those are good topics, I think, to talk about, and just how to,
Okay.
and like I said, I don't know if it kind of falls into what you really do, Janice, but
It does.
It's definitely
hot
something I
topic.
can address. I very much am a
Yeah.
process
Yeah, if you're doing IT, I mean,
person.
you've had to go through that, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. But not just for
Oh
the
yeah.
IT part, but my entire business. My entire business is done that way. So
Yeah, cool.
Oh yes. I've definitely worked with people on that too. So
Yeah.
that would be did you take notes, Mike?
I did
All
all
right.
over the place.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just go ahead and say thank you for coming so I
Yes.
can stop the recording. But I do appreciate everybody, you guys showing up. We had a number of people that for various reasons could not. But thank you to all who will see this in the future and look for more to come from us for sure.
You're going to stop the video, right?
There we go.